What follows is a video that I posted January 21st, 2022. So responding to the comments I've seen on the channel asking about Joe Biden's apparently complicated situation these days and the number of things he's experienced strong pushback on, I will simply tell you, without going into a lot of detail here, that he's going to be fine in 2022, and I think he's going to recover his mojo and everything is going to improve a whole lot. And the reason is, in part, because the Saturn transit is less harsh in 2022. It's a lot more difficult in 2021. And at the same time, the entry of Jupiter into Pisces at the end of 2021 and into the early part of this year, where it is now and will continue to be until mid-May, is very favorable for Biden. And you're going to see this as the weeks pass and we move towards spring, but really by next month, because it starts to get close to his Mars, trines it, then goes through to trine the Mercury, trine the Sun and Venus. This is very positive stuff. And if you see the momentum past that, it enters Aries in mid-May. And those degrees of Aries are also helpful for him because they move toward a trine to his ninth sign, Pluto, which was the planet, together with Mars, that was responsible, astrologically speaking, for all those problems he had in the Afghanistan and post-Afghanistan period, as Saturn was hitting hard on those degrees. And this is what Saturn is moving away from. And then finally, I can add that if you'll recall from prior videos, I mentioned a couple of times that there is a very powerful Jupiter station in late Pisces in the third week of November of 2022, this year. And this is the classic correlation for victory and happiness. It's one of the best things that can happen to you. A Jupiter station and trine to important planets, in this case, Sun and Venus, both very important. So the question I asked was, well, why would Biden be happy around that time? Some people thought it was a very mysterious statement. I was obviously alluding to the election results. To me, this is an indicator, at least one important marker, that the 2022 midterm elections are likely to turn out a lot better for Democrats than some pundits are expecting based on current projections. So, bottom line, what I would say to you is relax about Joe Biden. He's going to be doing a lot better this year. So the question is, have I changed my mind on what I said earlier this year in January, which in fact, in a very real sense, continued from what I had said in the summer of 21 around what was likely to happen in 2022 for Biden, and including around now as we get closer to the election. If you think back to early 22, there were intimations already in the air in the news that Vlad the Thug was going to be making his move on Ukraine, which he eventually did, and Biden reacted by coalescing the NATO alliance and pushing back strongly. However, his approval didn't improve that much on that account and didn't really pick up significantly until after the Democrats were able to pass important legislation, which came as a bit of a surprise when it happened, because it looked like nothing was going to be done. And then when it happened, Biden benefited. It was also the Supreme Court's takedown of Roe v. Wade, which I think also helped Biden some. And then there was the continuous drumbeat, emitting from the Mar-a-Lago Palace and the king over there, the Orange Menace, and his doings, which in particular around the work of the January 6th committee, which happened in the summer, and then of course the mendacious menace himself being, pursued and raided by the FBI because it was discovered that he had all kinds of secret and top secret documents at his Mar-a-Lago resort. All of that contributed to Biden's improvement. However, all that said, here we are. We're on the doorstep of the 22 elections, midterms. And my logic was in 2021 and earlier this year and all along that as we're now moving into the late stages of this year, the situation is very favorable for Joe Biden because of the Jupiter station that we are getting next month in the late degrees of Pisces, which happen to be very good for his chart. It's that simple. Now, he's not the only player. There are other players involved. True. And that'll be a question of taking up those charts in some detail. Namely, for example, we can compare Mitch McConnell to Chuck Schumer. And we can also compare Kevin McCarthy to Nancy Pelosi. And I'll be doing that. But for now, on Biden and his situation and the notion that losing the Congress, losing the House and the Senate would be really bad for Biden. There's simply no way to express that differently. I would consider that catastrophic. Even losing one of them would be very problematic. Neither of those fits the November situation for Biden. The way I would read it is, neither of those is going to happen. So on Biden's account, everything is good next month. And so, on that basis, no, I'm not changing my mind. I'm staying exactly with the same outlook as I had earlier this year and last year. Now, of course, I will admit that this does feel like a bit of a high-wire act in the sense that we've been hearing the news telling us that the races have tightened, that the momentum is shifted to Republicans and so forth. However, the astrology hasn't changed. It's the same astrology that I had seen last year, earlier this year, and it's what I'm seeing now. So I'm staying with what I said.